The ruins stretched for miles, covered in dust and silence so deep that even the wind seemed afraid to speak. The city had once been alive, filled with voices and dreams, but now it was nothing more than a graveyard of forgotten stone and steel. Broken towers leaned toward the gray sky, their glass eyes long shattered. Beneath the layers of dust and decay, faint symbols glowed in gent markings that pulsed like a heartbeat. Hidden for centuries beneath the surface of the earth, from the distance, a lone figure walked carefully through the wreckage. His name was Elias, an explorer who had spent his life chasing stories no one believed. He had heard rumors of this place, whispers of a city older than any human civilization, built by hands that no history book dared to mention. The world had called it a myth, but myths always start with a truth. As he moved through the ruins, his flashlight swept over strange carvings, symbols that twisted and changed when the light passed across them. He felt the air grow colder, heavier, as though something unseen watched from the shadows. The sky above was pale and dim, the moon hanging low like a silent guardian. The ruins seemed to hum softly, a vibration so faint that Elias almost thought it was his imagination. He followed the sound to the heart of the ancient city, where the remains of a great hall stood. The walls were black stone, etched with patterns that shimmered faintly under the moonlight. In the center of the hall, half buried beneath the rubble, was something that did not belong, a smooth, metallic sphere about the size of a human head, untouched by dust or time. Elias knelt beside it. His hands trembled as he brushed away the surrounding debris. The surface was cold, too cold for metal left in the open air. Symbols appeared across its surface, glowing faintly like fireflies trapped under glass. They were not written in any language he knew. It felt alive, like it was breathing through light. He reached for his scanner, but before he could activate it, the sphere pulsed once. The vibration grew stronger, resonating through the ground and into his bones. A voice echoed, soft, broken, layered with static and age. It wasn't speaking in words, yet somehow Elias understood. "You are late." The air thickened. The symbols on the walls around him began to shimmer, their patterns shifting, rearranging. The floor trembled as a deep hum filled the chamber. Elias stumbled back, his flashlight flickering. The sphere lifted slowly off the ground, glowing brighter, as if awakening from a long sleep. Elias watched, frozen. His heart pounded. He wanted to run, but curiosity rooted him in place. The voice came again, stronger this time, no longer soft but commanding. "The earth pretends to sleep." The others ignored the signs. "Do not make the same mistake." The light filled the entire chamber, illuminating the carvings with dazzling intensity. For a brief moment, Elias saw shapes within the glottal figures, neither human nor machine, their outlines blurred by time. They were watching him. Around them, the walls displayed visions of worlds burning, cities collapsing under skies filled with fire. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light vanished. Silence returned, but it was not the same silence. It was heavy, charged, alive. Elias stood there breathing hard, his eyes still adjusting. The sphere lay motionless on the floor again. But now it had changed, its once smooth surface cracked, revealing something faintly glowing inside. He reached out, compelled by something deeper than reason. When his fingertips brushed the crack, a surge of images hit his mind like lightning. He saw oceans boiling, mountains shattering, the earth trembling as if in pain. Then he saw civilization stall, proud, magnificent, turning to dust. Each one had left the same warning, carved into stone, hidden in ruins like this one. "Do not wake the sleeper." Elias gasped and stumbled back. The message burned into his thoughts. What did it mean? Was Earth itself the sleeper? The wind howled suddenly through the broken hall, stirring the dust into ghostly shapes. The moonlight shifted, falling directly onto the sphere. The glow from within intensified, forming patterns across the floor that looked almost like maps, lines stretching across continents, converging at one single point deep beneath the planet's crust. Elias stared, realizing what it was showing him. A place, a heart, something buried within Earth itself. His breath caught. "Is this what they were warning about?" He whispered to no one. The air responded with a faint whisper, like an echo from the past. "You are not the first to ask. You may be the last to hear." The words sent chills down his spine. The artifact dimmed, and for a moment the ruins seemed to exhale a low sigh that carried centuries of forgotten history. Elias knew he had uncovered something beyond understanding, something the lost civilizations had tried to hide. He looked up at the moon again. Its light no longer felt gentle. It felt like an eye, open and aware. He stepped back slowly, his pulse racing. The ground beneath him quivered, just enough for him to feel it. Somewhere deep below, something stirred. The stillness of the earth no longer felt peaceful. It felt deceptive, watching, waiting, pretending. Elias turned off his light and stood in darkness, surrounded by the silent ruins of those who had come before. The message echoed again in his mind, unrelenting. The earth only pretends to sleep. He didn't know what it meant completely, but he felt its truth in his bones. And as he took one last look at the ancient city, he knew one thing for certain: whatever had ended the civilizations before humanity had not left. It was still here, waiting beneath the surface. The night around him grew quieter still, as if the world itself was listening. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, something unseen smiled. Elias did not sleep that night. He stayed near the ruins, sitting by a small fire that barely pushed back the cold. His mind refused to rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes, cities burning, oceans boiling, the strange figures made of light. The artifact's words echoed in his skull. The earth pretends to sleep. He didn't know if it was a warning, a riddle, or both. That at dawn the ruins looked different. The pale sunlight cut through the mist, revealing more of the ancient carvings. They seemed to form a pattern now that he hadn't noticed before, a circular sequence, like a map of time itself. In the center of that pattern was the same symbol that had appeared on the sphere. Elias moved closer, brushing away the dust until a narrow path of stone revealed itself beneath his hands. It led deeper underground. He hesitated only for a moment. Curiosity was stronger than fear. He grabbed his backpack, flashlight, and recorder, and started down the path. The air grew colder the deeper he went, thick with the scent of old stone and metal. The walls were covered in strange markings that glowed faintly, as if reacting to his presence. His footsteps echoed like whispers. After what felt like hours, the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber. The ceiling was lost in darkness, but the floor shone with golden lines running in perfect geometric patterns. At the center stood something that made Elias stop breathing, a massive circular door, carved with symbols that matched the artifact exactly. It was sealed, but faint light pulsed through the cracks like a heartbeat. He approached slowly, his flashlight trembling in his hand. The air hummed again, that same deep vibration from before. His recorder crackled with static, though he hadn't turned it on. When he stepped closer to the door, the sphere in his bag began to glow, its surface alive with light. Elias took it out, holding it up. The patterns on the sphere aligned perfectly with the symbols on the door. For a moment, everything went silent. Then the sphere drifted from his hand and floated toward the center of the massive door. The ground shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. The circular door began to rotate, its edges grinding against the ancient stone. A seam appeared in the middle, splitting open. A rush of warm air burst out, carrying a faint smell like ozone and rain. Behind the door, lights flickered to life, cold, white, and artificial. Elias stepped back, heart racing. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. The space beyond the door was not a tomb. It was a facility. Long corridors lined with dark metal stretched into the distance. Machinery hummed quietly, still working after who knows how many centuries. It was impossible. Their technology looked more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. He stepped inside. The walls were covered with screens showing streams of unreadable symbols. Strange, translucent panels displayed holographic projections of planets and star systems. One of them was Earth spinning slowly, surrounded by glowing red marks. Elias reached for his camera. He needed to record this. As he lifted it, the nearest hologram flickered and shifted. The projection of Earth zoomed in, focusing on the same location he had seen in the ruins, a single point deep beneath the surface. A voice spoke again, soft but clearer this time. They thought the Earth was theirs. They were wrong. Elias froze. The voice wasn't coming from any speaker. It was in the air itself. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling. The air shimmered in front of him, forming a figure of lighter humanoid shape, tall and featureless, glowing like a ghost. The voice spoke again. "We are what remains of those who came before you. We warned them. They did not listen. They dug too deep, and they woke the heart." "The heart," Elias whispered. "The core of the sleeper. It dreams beneath you. Every rise of a civilization feeds its memory. Every fall strengthens its pulse." Elias stepped back, shaking his head. "You're saying the Earth is alive?" The figure tilted its head, light rippling across its form. "Alive is not the right word. Conscious, perhaps. Waiting. Watching." Elias felt his stomach twist. He remembered the message. Do not wake the sleeper. If Earth itself was somehow aware, then what had those lost civilizations done? And what had they unleashed? The hologram's light dimmed and the voice grew fainter. "Your kind builds without listening. The same signs are rising again. When the heart wakes, the silence will end." Before Elias could ask more, the lights around him flickered violently. The ground trembled again, stronger this time. A deep rumble echoed through the tunnels, followed by a distant metallic roar. The holographic figure distorted, then vanished. The door behind Elias began to seal itself shut with a heavy clang. He ran. The corridor lights flickered in sequence as he sprinted back toward the ruins. The sphere shot back into his backpack as if pulled by some unseen force. Dust fell from the ceiling as the tremors grew louder. When he finally burst out into the open air. The entire ruin seemed to breathe, stones, shifting, cracks spreading through the ground like veins of fire. He stumbled away, panting, watching as the light from below faded into darkness. Then everything went still. The wind returned, cold and sharp, carrying whispers that seemed to form words. He couldn't make them out, but they all carried the same feeling: warning, fear, and something ancient that did not want to be disturbed. Elias dropped to his knees, gasping. He knew now that what he had found was not just a piece of history. It was a Kia signal left behind by civilizations far older than humanity. They had tried to warn whoever came next, but the question burned in his mind: was the sleeper already waking? As the sun rose, Elias stood and looked toward the horizon. The ground beneath his boots felt strangely warm, as if something deep below had just taken a breath. Elias left the ruins before nightfall, but the image of the glowing door and the voice of the ancient figure stayed with him like a shadow. Every sound in the forest around him felt strange now, too quiet, too measured, as if the world itself was listening to his every step. He kept looking back toward the valley where the ruins were hidden beneath the rocks. The place no longer seemed dead. It felt like it was breathing. He reached his camp hours later, exhausted but unable to rest. His hands shook as he replayed the recordings on his device. The static was loud, but under it, he could still hear the voice. They dug too deep. The heart wakes. He listened again and again, trying to catch every word. Yet the more he listened, the more he felt something else, something beneath the sound. It was like a second voice, distant and slow, speaking from the very ground. He stopped the recording and looked around. The forest was still. The firelight flickered across his face. He was alone, or so he thought. The ground beneath him gave a soft vibration. Just for a second, like a heartbeat, Elias stared at the earth. "You're not really asleep, are you?" he whispered. The wind answered with a long, low sigh through the trees. By morning, the vibrations had stopped, but the unease in his chest had not. He packed his gear and left for the nearest outpost, a small research base about 50 kilometers away. The world looked normal on the surface, the same sun, the same sky, but now he saw patterns everywhere. The clouds moved in circular shapes. The birds flew in strange, synchronized lines, and the soil under his boots felt faintly warm. When he finally reached the outpost, he found 3 other researchers already there. Dr. Heller, the team leader, was standing by the main console, scanning satellite readings. She looked up as Elias entered, her eyes narrowing. "You're back," she said. "We lost your signal for 2 days." "I found something," Elias said. "In the ruins." Heller frowned. "Ruins? There's nothing out here except dust and rocks." "Not these," he said quickly. "They're buried deep beneath the ridge. And there's technology there. Ancient, but active." That made her pause. "Active," he nodded. "Something woke up when I touched it." It said. He stopped, trying to find words that didn't sound insane. It said, "The earth is pretending to sleep." The room fell silent. The others exchanged uneasy looks. Heller crossed her arms. "Elias, you've been out there too long. Maybe it's radiation exposure. You need rest." "It's not radiation," he said, his voice rising. "It spoke. It warned us. The earth isn't just rock and metal, it's aware. Every extinct civilization left the same message, and we ignored them." Before Heller could answer, one of the monitors beeped sharply. A young technician leaned forward, confused. "Dr. Heller, you should see this." On the main screen, satellite feeds showed heat signatures across the planet, dozens of them, glowing red beneath the crust. They were small at first, then spreading slowly, like veins lighting up. The technician zoomed in on one of the regions. "These readings weren't here yesterday," he said quietly. "They're moving." Heller stared at the screen, speechless. Elias stepped closer. The pattern was unmistakably matched the glowing lines he had seen under the ruins. "Those are the same coordinates," he said. "The same energy patterns. It's starting." The lights in the outpost flickered. The computers buzzed with static. For a brief moment, every monitor flashed white, showing a single symbol, the same one that had appeared on the artifact. Then everything went black. "What the hell was that?" one of the researchers shouted. Elias felt the blood drain from his face. "It's the same signal," he whispered. "The same one from the ruins. It's spreading through the planet's network." The emergency lights came on, bathing the room in a red glow. Heller grabbed a communicator. "Base command, this is Outpost 9. We're experiencing a system-wide anomaly. Requesting immediate contact." Only static answered. Elias looked out the window. The ground trembled softly, just once. Then it stopped. The world outside looked the same, calm and normal. But deep down, he knew something had changed. The earth had listened. It had heard them. Hours passed. The team tried to re-establish contact with command, but all channels were dead. Every piece of equipment behaved strangely, screens flickering with ghost images, compasses spinning, sensors failing to read correctly. One by one, the lights on the consoles began to glow faintly blue. Elias walked to the window again. The horizon shimmered faintly, as if heat waves were rising from the soil. He remembered the ancient figure's words. "Every rise feeds its memory. Every fall strengthens its pulse." Heller joined him, her face pale. "You really think this planet is alive?" Elias nodded slowly. "Alive, or something close to it. Maybe it's been guiding life all along, watching civilizations grow, then fall, over and over. Maybe we were never really in control." Outside, the wind picked up, whistling across the barren plain. The vibrations returned so soft that only Elias seemed to notice. He pressed his hand to the window. The glass was warmed up. Then, somewhere deep underground, there was a sound. Not an explosion, not thunder, something else. A low, deep pulse, like the heartbeat of a giant. The outpost shook slightly, dust falling from the ceiling. The technician screamed as the monitors came back on by themselves. One by one, the screens displayed ancient symbols. Then they merged into a single image, the Earth, glowing from within, wrapped in a web of golden lines. A voice spoke again through the speakers, clear and resonant. "You were warned." They all were. The sleeper stirs once more. The lights went out completely in the darkness. Elias could still see the faint glow of the screens fading away. The silence that followed was thick and unnatural, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. He turned toward Hela. "We need to leave," he said quietly. Now, but somewhere deep below, that pulse came again, slow, heavy, endless. The Earth was no longer pretending. It was waking up. The ground kept trembling long after the lights went out. The red emergency lamps flickered weakly, painting everyone's faces in ghostly shadows. Elias could hear the faint rumble beneath his boots, a steady rhythm like breathing. It wasn't the planet shifting, it was something deeper, something alive. Dr. Hela shouted over the noise, "Backup power, now!" But the generators didn't respond. The screens glowed faintly, one after another, showing static mixed with symbols that no one could read. Elias stepped closer and froze. Those symbols were the same ones carved into the ruins, the same language the ancient artifact had used. The young technician stumbled back, panicked. It's controlling the systems, the signals inside the network." Elias shook his head. "Not the signal, the planet." Hela turned toward him, her face pale. "What are you saying?" "I think we woke it," he said quietly. "The heart beneath us, it's not just reacting, it's thinking." Before she could respond, one of the walls cracked with a thunderous snap. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a deep roar rolled through the ground like distant thunder. Outside, the soil began to shift in waves, as though something massive was moving beneath the surface. The outpost trembled. "Everyone outside," Hela ordered. They ran into the open air. The horizon glowed faintly red where the sun should have been setting, but the light wasn't sunlight. It came from the ground itself. Lines of fire-like energy crawled across the dirt in branching patterns, racing toward the mountains in the distance. Elias could only stare. The same patterns from the hologram, the same lines he'd seen under the ruins. "It's spreading," he said, barely breathing. The technician pointed toward the sky. "Look." Above them, the stars flickered as if something enormous passed between them and the heavens. For a moment, the moon dimmed, its glow distorted by an unseen energy. Then came another sound, low, metallic, vibrating through the air like the growl of a giant engine. Hela raised her communicator again. "Desperate. Command, this is Outpost 9. Do you read me?" No answer, just static. Elias' hand trembled as he reached into his pack. The sphere, the artifact, was glowing again, brighter than ever. Its light pulsed in time with the rumbling beneath him. He could feel heat radiating from it, like a heartbeat under his fingers. The other researchers backed away, frightened. "Get rid of it," one of them shouted. "It's calling that thing." But Elias didn't move. He could feel something inside the light, something trying to speak again. The hum in his ears deepened until words began to form. The cycle repeats. They build, they forget, they fall. He dropped the sphere to the ground, backing away in terror. The light spread outward, forming a circle around them, a perfect ring of golden energy. Inside it, ghostly shapes appeared, flickering like shadows trapped in time. Ancient beings, tall and thin, with eyes that glowed faintly blue. Dr. Hela whispered. "What are they?" Elias answered without knowing how. "The ones who came before." The ghosts moved in silence, pointing toward the ground. One of them reached out, and a deep voice echoed through the air, not from the sphere, but from the earth itself. "You were warned." The ground split open with a deafening crack. A surge of light burst upward, blinding and hot. The team fell backward, covering their eyes. When the glare faded, they saw Itamas's structure, rising slowly from beneath the surface. It was made of dark metal, shaped like a tower, covered in glowing veins that pulsed like blood vessels. Elias could hardly breathe. "It's waking." Hela shook her head, stepping back. "No, this is impossible." The tower rose higher, the air around it humming. Waves of static energy rolled outward, knocking over equipment and throwing sparks into the air. The researchers scrambled for safety, but the energy was spreading faster than they could move. Elias grabbed Hela's arm. "We have to leave now." They ran toward the ridge, the ground cracking open behind them. The outpost was collapsing into itself, metal twisting and folding like paper. A wave of heat followed them as the tower released another pulse of light. Elias turned his head just long enough to see the symbol, the same one from the sphere, glowing across its surface. By the time they reached the ridge, the ground was shaking violently. The earth split open in long, jagged lines. From those cracks, a strange light poured out, shimmering and alive. It wasn't fire, it was energy, the same golden hue that burned in the artifact. Hela and the others stared in disbelief. "It's beautiful," one of them whispered. Elias shook his head. "No, it's not beauty, it's memory. The planet is remembering." The light flickered again, forming brief, flickering images. Cities that had once stood on other continents, now gone. Towers rising, then crumbling, ships burning in the sky. Oceans swallowing entire civilizations. Elias understood. Every time it wakes, everything starts over. Hela's voice trembled. Then this is the beginning of the end. A new tremor hit, stronger than before. The ridge cracked under their feet. Elias fell to his knees, gripping the soil. Through the cracks, he saw a movement, massive, slow, rhythmic, like something shifting deep within the core. The artifact pulsed again, brighter this time. The voice returned, distorted but powerful. You cannot stop what you began. The earth will remember you. Elias stared down at the light. Then tell me why. Why does it keep destroying everything? Silence. Then a final whisper came through the wind. Because it must dream again. The light dimmed, and the tremors slowly faded. The tower in the distance stood silent now, still glowing faintly against the dark sky. The ground stopped shaking. The air was heavy with heat and dust. Hela fell beside him, her face pale. It stopped, she said, gasping. It finally stopped, but Elias didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the horizon. In the faint glow of the tower, he saw movement lines of smaller light spreading outward like veins, reaching toward the oceans, the mountains, the cities beyond. No, he whispered. It's not stopping. It's spreading. The others followed his gaze. The lights were moving fast now, crawling across the land like living fire. The earth was waking in this time. It wouldn't go back to sleep. The tower stood like a dark monument against the horizon, pulsing with golden light that bled into the night sky. It was silent now, but the silence didn't bring peace. It carried weight, like the air before a storm. Elias and Dr. Hela sat on the ridge, watching the faint glow spread across the land. The others were quiet, too afraid to speak. The earth looked unchanged, yet something beneath the surface had shifted forever. Elias couldn't take his eyes off the tower. It's alive, he whispered. The whole planet, it's alive. Dr. Hela rubbed her temples, exhausted. If you're right, then what is that thing? Why did it wake now? I think it was never truly asleep, he said. It was pretending, waiting. The wind picked up, carrying dust across the ridge. In the distance, thunder rumbled, though there were no clouds. The faint tremor returned, steady, rhythmic, like a pulse. When the first lightning struck, it didn't come from the sky. It came from the ground. Golden streaks shot upward from the soil, splitting into the clouds above. The air crackled with static energy. The researchers stumbled back in fear as the tower flared to life again, glowing brighter than before. Elias shielded his eyes. It's sending something, he said. A signal. To who? Hela asked. Before he could answer, the ground beneath them vibrated again, and the artifact in his bag began to glow. He pulled it out, and this time, it didn't float, it projected. A column of light rose from its surface, forming holographic images in the air. They were visioned cities made of glass and light, stretching across alien landscapes, ships flying through skies of purple and silver, beings of light, tall and graceful, walking across surfaces that shimmered like water. And then, destruction, fire, floods, collapsing towers, and finally, darkness. The voice returned, calm and ancient. They built as you built, they dreamed as you dream, and they fell as you will fall. Elias stepped closer, his face lit by the holographic glow. Why? Why do you destroy them? The image flickered, showing the Earth from space. Its surface glowed faintly, veins of light running across continents. They forgot who the Earth belonged to, the voice said. They mined, they burned, they scarred the skin of the sleeper. Each time, it warned them. Each time, they ignored it. Hela shook her head in disbelief. You're saying the planet kills civilizations? Not kills, the voice answered. Resets. Elias felt his chest tighten. Resets. To dream again, to begin anew. The heart grows tired of noise. It silences the world so that life can start fresh. Hela backed away, terrified. That's madness. It can't think like that. The voice grew softer, like wind through stone. You are part of its thought. You always were. The holograms shifted again, showing humans now cities filled with light, airplanes crossing skies, satellites circling the planet, the same patterns, the same mistakes. Then, faintly, another image appeared, a giant heartbeat, pulsing deep within the Earth's core. Every beat sent a ripple through the planet's crust. Spreading like invisible waves, Elias whispered. It's happening again. The hologram dimmed, but before vanishing, it showed one final image, a massive circular structure buried beneath the oceans, identical to the tower that had risen here. There were more of them, scattered across the world. Elias turned to Hela, panic in his voice. There's not just one, there are hundreds, the others gasped. The Earth's low hum grew stronger, almost audible now, like a drumbeat beneath their feet. The ground shook again, more violently this time. Rocks tumbled down the ridge. The researchers struggled to stay on their feet as fissures cracked open around them, glowing with golden light. The Earth was moving, breathing faster. We need to leave, one of the researchers shouted. But before they could move, the tower released a surge of light that spread across the horizon. The energy raced into the sky, connecting with invisible points above. For a second, the clouds disappeared, replaced by glowing geometric patterns that covered the atmosphere like a net. Hela stared upward in awe. That's not lightning. It's forming a network. Elias nodded slowly. It's activating the others. All across the world, unseen by their eyes, other towers began to awaken. Deep under oceans, in deserts, beneath polar ice, massive structures began to hum with life, their lights piercing through the earth. Satellites orbiting Earths flickered and failed as electromagnetic waves rippled outward. Back at the ridge, Elias clutched the artifact tightly. It's connecting to something. Maybe to itself, or he hesitated, his voice trembling, or to whatever's inside the planet. The ground roared. The energy lines crawling across the surface began to converge, all pointing toward the tower. The Earth's hum turned into a steady vibration, deep and thunderous. It wasn't anger. It wasn't rage. It was awakening. Hela covered her ears. Elias, what do we do? He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the horizon. The light was no longer golden. It was red now, burning like molten metal. It's not warning us anymore, he said softly. It's preparing. Preparing for what? He turned to her, his expression hollow. For the reset. The hum reached its peak. The air around them buzzed with power. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. No tremors, no wind, no sound. The silence was so sharp that it felt like the whole world had frozen. Elias looked down at the artifact in his hands. Its light faded slowly, until only a single symbol remained, the same circular mark he had seen in the ruins. Then the voice spoke one last time, calm and final. The dream ends soon. The earth remembers. The artifact went dark. The night sky flickered not with stars, but with faint red patterns moving beneath the clouds. The world seemed to exhale, and Elias felt it, a deep, slow breath of something vast beneath his feet. He realized then that humanity had never truly been alone on this planet. They were living inside something ancient, something that only pretended to sleep. And now, after millennia of watching and waiting, the earth was waking to begin its next dream. Elias stared out at the burning horizon and whispered, "It's remembering us." And somewhere, deep below the surface, the heartbeat of the world continued. Slow, heavy, returnal. The earth had gone silent, but it wasn't the silence of peace. It was the pause before something immense moved beneath the skin of the world. Elias stood at the edge of the ridge, staring down at the glowing tower. The light that once pulsed softly now burned like liquid fire, bleeding into the earth and the sky. Around it, the ground had begun to shift in slow, deliberate waves, the land itself breathing. The others had retreated to the camp, too afraid to stay near. But Elias couldn't move. Something in him refused to look away. He could feel it now, the pulse under his boots, the slow rhythm echoing through stone and air. Dr. Heller ran up beside him, gasping for breath. "We've lost all contact," she said. "Satellites, radio, everything's down. The world's gone dark, Elias. It's global." He turned toward her, face pale. "Then it's already begun." The tremor deepened. Dust fell like rain. From far away came a sound no human had ever heard before, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to rise from the center of the planet. It wasn't a natural sound. It was structured, layered, almost musical. "It's communicating," Elias whispered. "The earth is talking." Hela looked at him in disbelief. "To who?" Before he could answer, the sky changed. Clouds twisted into spirals, glowing faintly red, as if reflecting something burning from below. Then came the lights, faint at first, then blinding, racing across the horizon in lines, forming geometric shapes that moved like living veins. Elias shielded his eyes. "It's connecting the towers." All across the planet, the ancient structures were awakening. In deserts, under oceans, buried beneath glaciers, they pulsed in unison, each one sending ripples through the crust. Cities far away trembled as the ground cracked open to reveal strange metallic roots, spreading beneath streets and mountains. A researcher stumbled out of the camp, shouting, "You need to see this." They rushed to the communication tent. The monitors flickered with static, but one feed remained, an orbital camera that hadn't yet failed. The image showed Earth from above, glowing with faint red lines spreading across continents, forming circles and spirals that pulsed in rhythm with the tower. Hela stared at the screen. It's alive. It's like we're looking at its nervous system." Elias nodded slowly. "It's waking up its body." The realization sent a chill through everyone. The hum in the ground grew stronger, making their equipment vibrate. The compass needles spun wildly. Electronic devices overheated. The very air seemed heavier, charged with static energy. Suddenly, the artifact in Ilias's pack reactivated on its own. It floated into the air and began to glow once more, brighter than before. The hologram that formed this time wasn't abstract. It was Earth itself, surrounded by orbiting shapes. The voice returned, deeper now, filled with strange harmonics. "You were warned. You forgot. You consumed and burned and called it progress." Elias stepped closer, eyes wide. "Who are you?" "We are what remains of what you call memory," the voice said. "We were the architects before time. We've built this world to dream. You turned its dream into noise." The light flickered, showing ancient cities buried deep beneath oceans, massive structures older than human existence. Then came scenes of floods, earthquakes, and fire, each one resetting the surface, erasing the past. Hela whispered, "Each extinction was a reset." The voice continued, The sleeper cleanses itself when the balance breaks. The pulse rises again. The next silence begins. The hologram vanished, leaving only the artifact, now pulsing like a living heart. Elias stared at it, breathing hard. If this is the reset, we can't stop it. Hella's hands trembled. There must be a way. Elias shook his head. You don't stop a planet from breathing. Outside, the tremors grew violent. The earth split open near the ridge, spewing light instead of lava, molten gold spilling upward like a fountain of energy. The tower roared, the sound like 1,000 voices speaking at once. The camp descended into chaos. People ran for the trucks, shouting, crying, desperate to escape. But the road behind them had already crumbled away. The land itself was shifting, rearranging. Elias grabbed Hella's arm. We need to go north, the mountains. If this energy spreads, the lowlands will collapse first. They started running, the ground shaking beneath every step. Behind them, the tower's glow expanded, forming a vast column of light that reached the clouds. From miles away it would look like a sunrise, beautiful and terrifying. As they climbed the slope, the artifact vibrated again. Elias held it close, feeling warmth through the metal. Then, without warning, it projected one last image, a face. Not human, vast, featureless, made of light and dust. That it spoke softly this time. You fear the end, but the end is only the breath between dreams. Elias stopped running, his chest heaving. Then tell me what happens to us. You return to silence, it said. And silence remembers everything. The face dissolved. The artifact went cold. Behind them, the world was transforming. Trees bent as if in wind, though the air was still. Stones floated for brief moments before falling again. The sky shimmered like water, rippling under invisible waves. Hella grabbed Ilias's arm. It's rewriting reality. He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the horizon where new shapes were rising from the earth. Massive rings of metal and stone, covered in ancient glyphs, emerged from the ground and began to rotate slowly. The hum of the earth grew louder, almost deafening. He finally spoke, voice low and hollow. No, it's not rewriting. It's remembering. The ground split once more, and a blinding light consumed the horizon. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Time, sound, movement. Then, from deep within the planet, came the faint echo of a heartbeat, steady and strong. Elias closed his eyes. It's awake. And as the light swallowed the world around them, one thought lingered in his mind, a whisper from the ruins, from the lost civilizations. From every forgotten warning, the earth only pretends to sleep. Until it dreams again. The light was endless. It poured across the land like a second sun, erasing shadows and color until everything became white, blinding, pure, alive. Elias felt himself floating, his body weightless, caught in a current that wasn't wind or water but something deeper. He tried to move, but there was no ground beneath him, no sky above, only light, stretching forever. Then, slowly, the light began to fade. Shapes emerged, outlines of ruins, forests, mountains, familiar yet strange. The air shimmered like glass, and everything around him seemed new, like the world had been reborn in the breath of a dream. Elias gasped, touching his chest. He was still alive. Somehow the ground beneath him was smooth and pale, humming faintly as if alive. He looked around and saw Dr. Heller a few meters away, coughing, covered in dust and ash. She blinked in confusion, her voice trembling. Where are we? Elias helped her up. I don't know, but it doesn't look like the same world. The landscape stretched out before them, vast plains glowing with faint bioluminescent light, rivers that shimmered like mercury, trees with crystal branches that sang softly when the wind passed. The sky was not blue anymore but silver, filled with drifting lights that moved like slow stars. They stood in silence, staring. The earth had changed. Elias crouched and touched the ground. It was warm, alive. When he pressed his hand against it, he felt a slow, rhythmic pulse beneath the surface. It's still beating, he whispered. Dr. Heller turned in a slow circle, scanning the horizon. If this is still Earth, it's not the one we knew. A faint sound echoed in the distance, not thunder, not wind. It was voices, whispering in languages they didn't understand. Shapes moved at the edge of the light, tall and graceful, their bodies made of mist and faint energy. Elias froze. Do you see them? Heller nodded slowly. Yes, but they're not solid. The figures glided closer but never touched the ground. Their eyes glowed faintly blue, their forms translucent. One of them stopped near Elias, tilting its head. Then a voice entered his mind, calm, distant, familiar. You walk within the echo of the old world, Elias whispered. Who are you? We are what remains of those who came before, the voice said. The earth remembers through us. Heller took a cautious step forward. Are we dead? Not yet, the figure replied. You exist between breaths. The earth has not chosen your fate. Elias looked around at the glowing plains, realization slowly dawning. This is the reset, isn't it? The dream beginning again. The figure nodded. Each time the world grows loud, it dreams itself anew. What you call the end is only a turn in the cycle. What was broken is rewritten. Elias's throat tightened. And humanity. What happens to us? The figure's eyes flickered. That depends on what you remember. The ground beneath them pulsed brighter for a moment, sending ripples through the air. Images formed, cities rising again, but built from light instead of steel. People walking among glowing trees, the air filled with harmony instead of noise. It was beautiful, too beautiful to be real. Then the vision shifted. The same cities burned. The same rivers dried. The light dimmed until only darkness remained. The figure's voice softened. You have always been given the same choice. To live with the dream, or to wake it in fear. Dr. Heller's voice broke. So we caused it. Every time. Yes, the voice said gently. You called it progress. But progress without balance becomes fire. Ilias closed his eyes. The weight of centuries pressed on him. He could see it now. All the forgotten civilizations, each rising, each burning, each leaving behind the same warning. The earth only pretends to sleep. He opened his eyes and met the figure's gaze. If the world is dreaming again, can we change it? Can we stop it from ending next time? The figure was silent for a long moment. Then it extended a glowing hand toward him. Dreams remember those who wish to understand them. Elias hesitated, then reached out. The moment his hand touched the figure's light, a surge of warmth rushed through him. He saw flashes, ancient knowledge, endless time, the heartbeat of the earth echoing through mountains and oceans. For a moment, he felt connected to everything, every tree, every stone, every whisper of wind. When he pulled back, tears filled his eyes. It's not just a planet, he said softly. It's alive in ways we can't even comprehend. The figure began to fade, its body dissolving into dust and light. Remember this, Elias had said. When you wake again, remind the world that it lives within something greater than itself. The voice faded, leaving only silence. Elias and Hela stood alone once more in the strange new land. The light around them dimmed and the wind carried a faint, rhythmic hum, the same pulse they had heard beneath the ruins. Deep and steady. Hela looked up at the silver sky. If this is a dream, how long will it last? Elias smiled faintly, his eyes reflecting the horizon's glow. As long as we let it. In the distance, new shapes began to rise. Towers of light, forests of glass, rivers carving new paths through the land. The earth was rebuilding itself, rewriting the story once more. Elias whispered to the air, to the heartbeat beneath his feet. We hear you now. We won't forget again. And somewhere deep beneath the surface, the pulse of the world grew softer content. For now, the earth dreamed quietly once more, pretending to sleep. But within that silence, a faint whisper remained, ancient, eternal. Every dream must end, and every ending begins with those who listen. The world was quiet again. Weeks, maybe months had passed since the awakening. The sky was still silver, and the land shimmered faintly under the strange light that never dimmed. No sun, no moon, only a soft, eternal glow. What was once earth now felt like something between life and dream. Elias walked through the valley that had once been a desert. Now it was filled with rivers of light, flowing like molten glass. Strange plants grew where sand had been, their translucent leaves whispering faint notes when the wind touched them. Every breath of air tasted alive. Dr. Heller walked beside him, silent. They had both stopped trying to explain what had happened. Science had no words for it. The earth had awakened and then rewritten itself. Humanity was no longer what it had been. They had found others, scattered survivors, dazed, unsure if they were alive or dreaming. Cities were gone, replaced by landscapes that defied geometry. Mountains curved inward, rivers floated above the ground, and in the distance, lights moved like constellations walking across the horizon. Some survivors prayed, some wept, some simply watched, unable to comprehend. Elias carried the artifact, the small sphere that had started it all. It no longer glowed, but it pulsed faintly when he held it close to the ground. He had learned something since that day. The artifact wasn't alien, it wasn't technology. It was a seed. And now the planet was full of them. Hela stopped walking and looked toward the horizon. Do you ever think it might start again? Elias nodded slowly. It always starts again. That's what it told me. Every age, every rise, every fall's just another heartbeat. She stared at him. Then what's the point of surviving? He looked down at the glowing rivers below. To remember. For a long time they stood in silence, listening to the low hum rising from the ground. It was faint but steady, like the earth's breathing. Somewhere beneath their feet, the sleeper had returned to its rest. But now Ilias understood it never truly slept. It watched. That night, when they made camp under the strange silver sky, Elias took out the artifact again. The surface was cracked, almost broken, but as soon as it touched the ground, faint symbols appeared around it, ancient runes glowing softly in the dust. He leaned closer. You're still alive, aren't you? A faint light pulsed from within. Then, slowly a voice emerged so soft that it sounded like wind through leaves. The dream continues. Elias felt his chest tighten. Is this the new beginning? Every end births another beginning, the voice said. But each dream depends on its children to keep it alive. He frowned. Children. The artifact's glow spread wider, forming faint shapes in the air. Images of people walking through the new world, touching the strange plants, drinking from the glowing rivers. With each step they took, the light beneath their feet responded. The earth learns from you, the voice whispered. It remembers what you choose to become, Elias understood. So it's not just rewriting itself, it's watching what we do next. Yes, he sat in silence for a long time, staring at the holographic glow. Then tell me one thing, he said quietly. Was all this meant to happen? The floods, the fire, the reset. The voice hesitated. Then, the dream must protect itself, even if it must begin again. He sighed, lowering his head. Then maybe we don't deserve another chance. The glow dimmed. Then dream better, it said simply. The light faded, leaving Elias in the quiet hum of the living earth. Later, when he slept, he dreamed not of destruction, but of memory. He saw the old cities, shining under blue skies, before greed and noise drowned them. He saw the civilizations before them, each rising, each falling, each leaving behind the same message. Do not wake the sleeper. But in the final vision, he saw something new: children born into the reborn world, their eyes reflecting the silver sky, their hands touching the glowing soil without fear. The earth no longer trembled beneath them. It hummed softly, content. When Elias woke, dawn had come, not golden but silver-white. The rivers of light still flowed quietly. The world felt calm, as if the planet itself was breathing in peace. Dr. Heller was awake too, sitting near the fire. Did you dream? She asked. He nodded. Yes, and for once, it wasn't about endings. They began walking again, heading north, where faint light ripples marked the outline of what used to be mountains. Every step echoed slightly, as if the ground remembered their presence. As they reached a high ridge, Elias stopped. Below them stretched a vast valley filled with new-growth forests of light, waters that glowed from within. The sight stole his breath. It's beautiful, he murmured. Heller smiled faintly. Maybe this time, it'll last. He nodded. If we listen. The wind stirred, carrying a low, resonant hum that rolled across the valley. It wasn't threatening anymore. It sounded almost like a song. Elias turned the artifact one last time in his hand. Maybe this is the last warning, he said softly. Not to fear the earth, but to understand it. He placed the sphere gently on the ground. It glowed once, then melted into the soil, leaving only a faint circle of light. The hum grew softer. The world seemed to sigh. Elias looked at the horizon, where silver clouds drifted slowly across the glowing sky. The earth pretends to sleep, he said. But now, maybe it dreams with us. And for the first time in memory, the planet's heartbeat matched their own, steady, alive, eternal.